WestLINK.
Welcome to WestLINK, where we connect to talk about relevant topics. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and I'd like to invite you to please like, comment, subscribe to our Toronto West channel. I'm your host today, Chanel Flash, a member of West, a former teacher in both a secular public school and a private Adventist school, and now a lawyer and notary public. Today, I'm hosting WestLINK because I'm an advocate for Christian Adventist education, because that's where home, school, and church work together to prepare our students for life here on earth and for the earth made new. Today's program is on Christian education in the COVID era. How has our schools adapted to ensuring that our students are still learning? Stay with us and you will find out. Today's co-host is Leanne Gordon, an energetic and committed youth leader at West, a graduate of Adventist education, Oakwood University with a psychology degree, and now currently teaching at Crawford Adventist Academy. Leanne, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chanel. The incomparable Chanel Flash, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for that introduction. I, too, am a strong believer and advocate for Christian education. It is an absolute honor to be here to speak with our illustrious guests, principals who will give up their time, their thoughts, and expertise about teaching in a pandemic. I mean, you think you know, but you have no idea.
I can only imagine. Well, today's guests are Rose Wilson, principal of Crawford Peel, K-8.
Then we have Fernan Wilson, who is representing the principal of Crawford High School, Adventist Academy.
Judy Bergen-Hall, principal, Crawford, Maine, JK-8.
And then lastly, we have Ellen Bannis, principal of Grandview Adventist Academy.
We also have another principal who is not here with us today, Judy Hutchinson-Bowes. She's a principal, at Crawford Adventist Academy East Campus, which is also a K-8 school as well. So these are our principals for today. Now, for the purposes, today we're going to be doing a program about the principal's report card. All right. Recently, the majority of us who have our students enrolled in Christian education, we received our report cards for our students. Well, today we are going to grade our principals. How are they doing in this COVID era? We're going to look at 4 different sections. We're going to look at the principals themselves. What do they think, or how do they think they have been doing as they face the pandemic? We're also going to talk about our teachers, our students, our schools. Now, in our report card, we have grades. You all agree with us. We have grades. So today, our grading scheme is going to be E for excellent, G for good, S for satisfactory, and an N for needs improvement. So we are going to go and look at this. So, principals, when we come back, it's going to be class time. Get your Chromebooks and your textbooks. We will be right back. for joining us on WestLINK. As we mentioned, we're going to be interviewing you today and giving you a grade, or you're going to actually grade yourself. So we'll be discussing Adventist Christian education amidst the pandemic. Now, we have all been affected, students, teachers, parents, and I imagine more so you as the principals, because the buck does stop with you. So to start off, tell us a bit about yourselves. Let's call on Leanne. Let me see. I'm going to call on Ellen Bannis. How long have you been in the education field, Ellen?
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, should I say, everyone. I've been in education for about 20 years now, and both in England and here in Canada. I love Adventist education. I'm straight out of university, my first desire, and I've taught all the way from K all the way through to, well, the equivalent would be grade 12 here and international baccalaureate.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your dedication to Christian education. Leanne, who do you want to choose next?
I think I want to hear from Fernan Wilson, looking lovely over there in that beautiful yellow. How long have you been in the education field?
Well, I've been a teacher for the last 35 years. I've spent 20 years in Adventist education at various levels, at the college level for 5 years, and in the high school for 15 plus years. But I've taught in public school sector and worked as education administration for over 15 years combined. So in total, 35 years. I'm sure that won't date me in terms of my age, but I've been, for a long time.
Awesome. It's we can definitely see that our teachers have lots of experience. Okay, I'm going to use Rose. My question to you, Rose, is share something either fun or inspiring, and a funny or inspiring experience as a principal.
During the pandemic, during COVID, I do have a really funny story, but that happened, and it was an exceptionally funny story. And I'd love to share it with all of you, but if I tell you, the individual will never speak to me again. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. But as far as an experience, I think one thing that I have to bring out during this pandemic is just the resiliency of our teachers and just the way we've come together. That has been a rewarding experience for us.
Who is next?
I love that Rose brought up the most rewarding thing about her job. So I think that's what we're going to go to next. Miss Judy Bergenhall, what has been the most rewarding thing about your job?
Well, I don't consider what I do a job. I consider what I do a calling and a ministry. Mm-hmm. And so every day for me is rewarding because there's always some student who makes my day. So I'm going to give you an example. The day before spring break, when the public health department decided to close the schools down, after school, a grade 5 student came to me and he says, "Hi, miss." And I said, "Hi." And he says, "Well, I just came to visit you because I am not sure when I'm going to see you again. And I just want to spend some time with you." And that was just like, oh my goodness, and these are sometimes what you do, you think no one's noticing, or it's a thankless job, but people are noticing. And that was a very rewarding experience for me during the COVID times.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And Ellen, why don't we ask you the same question? What has been the most rewarding thing about your job?
Right. I think the most rewarding part of the job, especially during this pandemic, has been the connectivity. You hear say people have your back, Well, here, definitely, the parents are rallying around you. You've got the students encouraging you, your teachers, your colleagues, in actual fact, no longer teachers, but colleagues, because you're now all in the same boat and you're supporting and encouraging one another. And not to mention the wider school community. Our school board is phenomenal. And they quickly allowed me and joined me to set up a back to school committee, if you will. And we looked at all the different possible scenarios. So that really understanding that it wasn't just people talking the talk, but actually walking the walk and going that extra mile to support has been truly a blessing for me.
Excellent. Thank you, principals, for sharing. These were the easy questions. This is what I call the icebreaker, where I give you a chance to get comfortable and feel like you're right beside me. We all know we're not because of COVID, but I wanted to relax you. The tough questions coming up next. All right. So remember, I said have your Chromebooks. Make sure you have access to the internet so you can get your bibliographies ready and going. All right. So I was going to take a break now, but I think I'm going to dive right in. No reason to break. We're going to dive right into the hard questions. Principals, how are you coping during this pandemic? And when I say you, I want it personalized. How are you coping? As a principal, you have additional responsibilities, and there are just so many fires to out and problems to solve. So again, principals and teachers, I'm asking you this question. Vernon Wilson. Vernon, help me out. How are you coping?
Well, from a personal level, I've tried to keep my regular routine as much as possible, even when working from home. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll go through my regular routine, do my workout, my whatever else that I do, and then get ready for class as usual at a regular time. The only thing I'm missing is driving from Burlington to Toronto each morning for school, but I still keep that routine going as much as possible, and it seems to be working quite fine for me. When I get into class with the student, I try to spend the first few minutes encouraging, having a debriefing session and all that stuff. So I keep it as natural as possible and try to make it feel as if they're all in the same classroom, even though I know that they're in 20 or 15 different classrooms in your personal space.
How are you coping? Forget the students for a moment. How are you coping right now in the pandemic?
That's
Ellen?
oh.
Are you with us, Ellen? How are you coping?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I am. Let's. Sorry. Let's put it this way. I've learned a new word: boundaries.
Ah,
I think
excellent.
it is really, really important to be able to understand where the home and the school, separate, so to speak. Right at the beginning, it was working, you have all the behind the scenes setups to do and schedules. And so what I was ending up doing was working very, very long hours. Now, what I'm finding is that I can say my day ends at this time. I take intentional breaks to go out and walk, to actually sit and eat. As many of us know, in our schools, we actually eat with the students in our classes. So it is actually nice to come away and just eat by yourself, so to speak, or with a member of the family. So definitely throughout this pandemic, the way that I feel that I have coped is to make sure that I have set boundaries.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. And that's something I think we all need to do. We're home. There is no leaving work anymore because we're stuck at home and you can't leave a room and never go back to it. So boundaries, that's a good one for us. Let's choose another principle. Rose, how are you coping?
A lot of prayer, a lot of prayer, a lot of prayer. That's been my go-to. I found that because of the pandemic, I've been able to get more time to study my Bible, and not just reading it, but studying it, and it has given a lot of strength. going for long walks. I have a trail behind my house, and that is just refreshing. It helps me to unwind. I call it my prayer walks when I go. And even just communicating with other teachers and administrators, just bouncing ideas off of each other and unwinding, letting it out, venting when we have to. But that has helped. And spending time with family virtually has been amazing. Saturday nights, we would have our games night, and that has been wonderful. From the States to Canada, we're linking together, and it is such a release for me.
Thank you so much. One day you will need to share some of the bakings with us. Last but not least, Judy Bergenhall, share with us, are you coping and how are you coping? Okay, our principal is on mute, so we're going to ask the principal to unmute.
Okay.
Okay, there you are. Welcome back, Mrs. Bergenhall. How are you?
I was saying that I have not reached the level of the other principals. I have not learned the word boundaries yet. I am still running my regular routine. The only difference is that there are no students in the building. And to tell you the truth, I really, really miss them. So I'm in my office, making sure that parents are picking up materials for students. I'm making sure that, Chromebooks are given out to those who don't have any electronic devices to do their work on. I'm still feeling the same number of phone calls. I'm still in the same amount of meetings. However, I do take about a half an hour break to go out for a walk and maybe walk over to the Tim Hortons and buy a drink.
Excellent.
And come back. So the other thing that really helps me to cope, though, are my support networks. Okay. I have an amazing group of staff members that are willing to step in at any time when I need assistance. I have parents who constantly send in an email saying, you guys are doing a good job. We're praying for you. And of course, I have my family here at home. So I'm navigating it and it's working. And maybe if we have another conversation later, I'm going to tell you I go for long walks on the trail and I have gotten those boundaries right. But for now, I'm still working on it.
Okay, thank you for being honest, because many of us are struggling. And I was wondering about these 3 A+ principals who are getting it right. I heard one say he's going to exercise in the morning. Where do you get time to do that? But thank you so much for sharing with us. And probably what you principals need to do is to form your own little principals network and encourage each other. All right, on to the next question, because we're grading you today, so you are in a test. Share some of the new safety measures you've implemented due to the pandemic. You're all principals at school, or in the case of Fernan Wilson, he's here in the capacity of the principal, Andon Boyce from the high school. We're asking you all to share with us, each of you, a new safety measure that you have implemented because of the pandemic. And now we're in class, and this is where the students put up their hands and start answering. So I won't be calling you anymore. Let's go. Thank you, Ellen. Go ahead.
All right. In our school, from the get-go, we decided that all students from K all the way through to grade 8 will be wearing masks. Okay, so we didn't follow the provincial guidelines. We decided that all the way from K all the way up. And we do have plexiglass in one of our classrooms. And what we have done with the others is practice social distancing, should we say. So the desks are the 3 feet apart. And those are just some of the safety measures. We have also actually employed a day porter who is with us throughout the day and is regularly sanitizing the washrooms, the playground equipment, and of course the classrooms, the desks, the doorknobs, and such like.
Okay, all right. There goes our A+ student, the one who puts her hand up first. Teacher's pet. Are there any other students who would like to respond on safety measures? Vernon Wilson, your hand is up. Thank you.
Yes, we have a very eager Fernan. Go ahead,
Well,
Fernan.
I am encouraged to speak on this aspect of it because I chaired the safety committee at Crawford Adventist Academy. And at the beginning of the year, in September, or before September started, during the entire summer period, as a school, we went through the process of putting in all the necessary measures as required by Toronto Public Health as it regards to the pandemic and the reopening of school. So in terms of the number of students per class, putting in, getting plexiglass in for teachers' tables in rooms that are not large enough for the 6 feet spacing. We had plexiglass dividers for students. So we put in all these measures. There's a screening process at the beginning, at the start of each day, where all teachers and students has to complete a screening process before they can enter the building. And we have sanitizers and stations across the building. We have protocols in terms of the number of students are allowed in this particular space. And in terms of our scheduling in high school, we basically run what is called a quadmester, meaning that normally we have semester programs where we have 4 or 5 classes for the day. Now we only have 3 classes, and this is to reduce the amount of interaction with students and the movement from one place to the other. So we are doing all we can. In terms of washroom, limit is 2 persons at a time. So we are doing all we can to ensure that, and we limit and practice all the protocols as possible. And also to implement, we wear a mask and face shield as much as possible.
You know, Mr. Wilson is like one of those students, you ask them for a 30-second presentation, they come with a PowerPoint, they come with...
Sorry about that.
No, it's great. Thank you very much. As a former teacher, I like my students being thorough and complete.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next, we have Judy Bergenhall.
So we share some of the same protocols as high school, but some of our protocols are different. So for example, we open our doors 15 minutes earlier just to get through all the different protocols that we have to follow. We've also gone from 1 entrance to 3 entrances because of the different cohorts. So cohorts go through separate and specific doors. We have the touchless taps, of course, the 2 students to the bathroom. All our water fountains are out of commission, so students have to bring their own water, or in elementary's case, because the students are very, very spoiled, they get bottled water that's bought for them on an ongoing basis. Our classrooms tend to be on a smaller size because we have to follow the protocol of the spacing. In the JKSK room, we have plexiglass around each student's desk so that they're separated. We have staggered dismissal. That's a big thing that we went to. So we have 3 dismissal times or 2 dismissal times because we don't want the overcrowding at the door. And teachers, 2 or 3 teachers come down along with myself, and we make sure that the right student is given to the right parent. That's very important. Our students have to wear masks. Initially, it was from 3 to 8, but now it's from JK all the way up, and teachers must wear masks and face shields. Other thing that's changed is our recess time. So we had a rotating supervision for recess, but now every teacher has to go outside and supervise his or her own class. So there's a lot more hours in the day for the teachers, a lot less free time, but we're managing and we're navigating quite well.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bergenhall. Sorry, Chanel. So yes, I can personally testify to seeing those measures in place. Really well thought out and really well executed by Ms. Bergenhall and her teachers. Next, we will have Rose Wilson to let us know her measures.
Okay, because I still want to get my A, I'll let you know that we have not been in the building. So we have been online since September. So our protocol measures are everyone's at home, safe and sound. So that's what it's been so far for us.
All right. And all your children are still safe and sound and accounted for.
Very safe and sound. Yes, yes.
All right. Well, that's good to know that the protocols, which everybody seemed to use in that new word protocol, and I'm going to assume protocol means, are you still taking temperatures at the door of the students?
Yes.
Okay. And students wear masks. And what about hand washing? How do we do that? Because I think Vernon mentioned that only 2 students are allowed in the washroom at a time. So how are we getting hands washed or hand sanitized? What's happening there, principals? Anyone can chime in.
In terms of the entrance in the morning, the first thing that you got to do is to, as you enter the building, you unsanitize. You got unsanitizers while you take your temperature, etc. In terms of for high school, we allow students out during breaks, like total time, to go to the washroom. We encourage at all times that they practice hand washing. This is pretty much what we do. It's basically reminders and encouragement to get it done. Elementary may have a slightly different approach because they're younger students.
Right. So for us, as you know, we have 3 junior high classrooms outside. So after recess, each classroom is going to line up and each teacher supervises them. They go in, they wash their hands, and they come out. So it's something that's planned into the schedule. Also for JK to 6, the bathrooms are right in the respective floors. So teachers ensure that the students go get their hands washed and come back. Also, in each classroom, there's hand sanitizer as well. So we try to cover ourselves both ways. But there are 2 compulsory hand washings that should be done during the day.
Thank you, principals. Well said, well done. We feel way more comfortable about our students for the times when they're in classroom. One last question in this section where you're grading yourselves, principals. What has been the hardest thing added to your principal plate? Or what aspect of your job has been intensified because of the pandemic? Each of you get one thing. Again, 30 seconds. We have 3 more sections to go. So help me out here, principals. 30 seconds. What has been added to your plate?
I see Rose's hand, so I'll let you go first. Go ahead, Rose.
What I have found that has been added to the plate is more meetings. Because of Zoom, it seems that meetings are just coming. So that has been there. A challenge has been the discipline, dealing with that, because all our kids are online. And when it comes to having to discipline a child who is not sitting up properly, not participating, something like that, it's not a case where you can just walk into the classroom and speak to them face to face as easily as it was inside the building. So that has been a challenge for us. But we're learning different ways of dealing with things, and using the little breakout rooms to do that one-on-one, or automatically, if we're having a problem with the child, just picking up the phone and just contacting their parent who's right there. And before you know it, that parent is standing right behind that child, and things get right back on track again. So it's been different. It's been different.
All right. Anybody else want to share before we move on? And grade you? Anybody wants to share what else was something hard, something tough, something really?
Yeah.
For me, it's overseeing and implementing all the new protocols in order to ensure the safety of the students, the faculty, and staff, and just to try to do what we can not to get COVID into our building. But apart from that, it's just daily keeping abreast of all the changes that may come down from the public health or the Ministry of Education. And you don't want to miss any of those changes because they could be detrimental to your school and to your students. So that responsibility for me is indeed very daunting.
Okay. I can only imagine all the different reports, newsletters, emails you need to be reading so you can be kept abreast. Thank you for sharing that. We'll take one more principle, anything which has intensified so that our online audience...
Well, I'm not a principal, but I'm going to speak on behalf of Mr. Boyce. I missed him not doing so. Based on observation, Mr. Boyce has become extremely busy in terms of meetings and and just going around ensuring that things are in place. And as a staff, we provide the best support we can for him in ensuring that because we are all in it together. So basically, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Boyce, for the work you've been doing.
All right. We have a student in the back with her hand up. So maybe too long, Ellen.
I think one of the most important things that has been added to my plate is technology. Having to choose the technology, having to ensure that the technology is actually working as we disseminate the lessons to the students, and whether it be from our classrooms or even from home. So initially, the learning curve for Zoom, for even choosing a microphone, for choosing adequate laptops, cameras, writing pads like Wacom, and all the technology that's needed to actually deliver to our online students, that has been an addition to our plate as principals.
Rose, discipline, the students are not in front of you. How do you maintain that? So there's a lot that has been added to your plate as a principal. Now, since we've added so much to your plate, it's overflowing. Tell us, how do you feel about yourselves and the job you're doing? Let's grade you very quickly before we go to a break. Starting with Ellen, since you spoke last, what grade would you give yourself? E for excellent, G for good, S for satisfactory, and N for needs improvement.
I would give myself a G at this moment, because I always believe that there is room for improvement. There are lots and lots that I'm learning when we come together in our principal forum, and learning with and from my colleagues. And so I will say there's always room for improvement. So right now, I would say a G.
All right, thank you. Next principal, Judy Bergenhall. Please grade yourself accordingly. That is after you have unmuted. So we're going to take off 2 points for still being on mute.
Okay, but I'm not muting myself, so that's another problem.
Bergenhall, when the dog has eaten your homework, you still get an F. Continue.
I'm going to give myself an E. Even though there's room for improvement, based on what we are doing right now, I think definitely an E for myself and my staff.
Thank you very much. Leanne, who are our other teachers? Can you bring them in, please? Or principals, I'm sorry, and grade them accordingly. Leanne, okay. She could be on mute too. So Rose, please give yourself a grade. Online audience, I hope you're listening. You will get to chime in later. Rose, please grade yourself.
I'm between the E and the G. The G, because this is a new environment for me, for our teachers, and I'm still learning. I am still learning. Excellent, because what I've seen so far in the perseverance, the willingness to just do whatever it takes to make sure that our students are okay, and that the teachers are okay, and the level of academic rigor that we've been able to provide, we have to get an E. We have to get an E.
So you're giving yourselves 2 grades for 1 subject. Thank you very much, Principal.
Yes.
The last principal, I have no idea which kind of report card they're using, but the last, Vernon, did we grade you already?
No, we did not.
Okay, can you please?
I'm not regrading myself. I'm representing the position of the principal and the office of the principal. So I'd give Mr. Boyce an E for excellence, because he has been some dedication to the job that is unmeasured. And even with an E, there's still room for improvement, but excellent doesn't mean that we're at the top, but it's excellent in progress.
All right, thank you so very much. And did we grade everybody?
Yes, we did.
All right, we're going to take a break, but before we take a break, when we come back, we're going to be talking about COVID and the impact on the students and what we can do to help, if help is actually needed, and where our school stands. We'll be right back to WestLINK.
Good morning and happy Sabbath. I'm Annalise.
And I'm Chelsea.
And this morning we'll be talking to you about how we and a couple others have been coping with school during the pandemic. So we talked to two friends and they had a couple of things to say about how they've been dealing with school. And our friend one said that they have little to no motivation to do any work. They're tired and their mental health is all over the place, you know. So yeah, our second friend, they said that their emotions were triggered, like different things trigger their emotions, you know, anger, sadness, you know, happiness, nervousness, you know.
And when they're at home in like the comfortable space that they're used to, they have to think about like if they want to do work or they want to go back to sleep. They have to like remember that they have to keep pushing and do work and stuff.
And the last thing that they mentioned was that, you know, seeing though our province is always in and out of lockdown, also you always have to prepare yourself to be in, whether you're in school or you're in your house, you know. You have to prepare your mindset for being inside your home. You know, what are you gonna do when you're inside, have no one to talk to, when just a couple weeks ago you were with your friends and, you know, having fun. So, me personally, how I've been dealing with this, you know, it's been okay. Sometimes it's not, you know, having to be home. Like friend two said, you know, having in and out of school and your house, you know, you're used to that environment. So being in school, you know, you have to kind of straighten up so that you can listen to the lectures, you know, and write down your notes and prepare, you know, be in the proper mindset for school, you know, have the right mentality to do your work. And, you know, also be able to come out of class sometimes to see your friends, right? Whereas when you're home, you know, you're not seeing anybody, you know. 2 hours on Zoom, you're looking and you're just there. You have no one to talk to. It kind of gets, you know, lonely and boring.
Ways I cope with it is sometimes I move around. One class will be my room. After the break, I'll be my brother's room. I'll be in the living room. I just move around just to make sure that I can keep focused and not go insane in my room. Another thing is, if you have a break during the day, go outside, get fresh air,
sunlight, vitamin D.
Yeah, and other ways to cope is like when you feel stressed. Take a break. Take a break. Watch 1-2 episodes on Netflix.
You know,
listen to some music, and then just get back into the swing of school. I'm hybrid, so I'm on and off. So I'm at school some days, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I can see people at home. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I have to adjust to everything, and I learned how to cope with the on and off.
Yeah, and you know, I see, like, me personally, I see a difference in my grades and how well I'm doing my work. You know, before the pandemic, because we were in semesters, you had time to, you know, slack off a little bit with the work
and more time to learn the information that you're getting.
But like now that we're in quadmesters, so you have to like buckle down and do the assignments right then and there, right? You have to get it into the teachers because now their grading times are like shorter too. So you have to get that in there, and it really allows me to focus and buckle down and do the assignments and hand it in. And I see a big difference in my grades, and like because you have more resources at home to help, and the teachers, you know, they contact you, make sure that you're
on your work.
Yeah. And you know, they'll let you know what it is that's in and what's not, so that you have time to give it into them as well.
Yeah, so long.
Welcome back to WestLINK, where we're talking with our principals. We're actually doing more than talking. We're speaking and we're grading them today on what has been happening during the pandemic. They've had lots of changes in classroom, out of classroom, hybrid learning. So today we have them in the hot seat at WestLINK talking about the pandemic and their handling of it. We're going to move on to our second section. We're going to be asking more questions about the students. How have our students been impacted? Now, earlier, Rose mentioned something about discipline. So I'm going to segue up from discipline and talk more about that. When you're at school and a child acts up, acts out, you can ask them to step outside the classroom. The teacher says something to them. If it escalates or if she can't deal with it at the moment or we send them to the principal's office and say, hey, go deal with it. Principals, what's happening? We can't send our children, our home-based students to the office anymore. How are you handling discipline? What new disciplinary measures have you implemented? Again, because we're back in the classroom with our principals, they get to raise their hands. And remember, you get bonus points if you answer first. So let's try that question again. What new disciplinary measures have you as principals have to implement or are you utilizing as we continue this home-based learning with our students?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't have to implement any new disciplinary measures. And that's because I just have almost perfect students. I think the biggest issues that we have are not as big as other issues. For example, turning on your camera. That's a big one. But I also understand that our students are operating on a different clock because they're not coming to school every day. Maybe they're up later at night. So they're having breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning, their uniform's not ready, those types of issues, which to me are not necessarily disciplinary issues. So when that happens and the teachers inform me, because I get a report right away, I'll phone the parents, and I'll speak with them about it. And parents are very, very supportive. They'll go in and check. Now, some of the other issues that we also have is that some of our parents are working. So these students are at home trying to navigate this new platform, and some of them are just not online learners. So for those types of things, we try to provide extra support as opposed to impose discipline on them.
Excellent. Any other principals want to chime in? What about students who are late to class or they don't turn up, or as Mr. Vernon mentioned earlier, they ghost him, they come and then they disappear? What disciplinary measures are you using right now?
In terms of, if I should chime in, I'm speaking as a teacher who's basically right there on the front line, and in the online environment, it's a different situation. The students are at home, and each home environment is a little bit different. So some of it's the things that we would have normally expect, whatever, we probably have to modify and suspend and give a little more of latitude. So in terms of my school students, we get in the morning. My encouragement is for them to be on time. And in the most part, they are. Most students are online on time. And because it's a longer class period, say it runs from between 2.5 hours, we break it up and we'll give breaks in between. So I'll do an attendance, I'll do a check-in, and I keep on engaging as much as possible throughout the entire class because I want to make sure that they're there and listening and participating. And you can know when they're not following through in terms of your output and all that stuff. And so that is very, very, very important. As it relates to cameras, I probably ask them to be on camera at some point in the morning, not entirely for the entire period, because I can't see them sometimes, especially when I'm using my computer as the main screen, and unless I use a monitor to follow through. But what is very important to me is that they're engaging, they're speaking to me, they answer when I call, and they are basically following through and in the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any other teachers are having any discipline and how they are responding to it?
I would
I
like to
think
say,
Ellen wants to speak. Okay, go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay. Whilst in the actual school building, the discipline issues has been minimal. I can say from September through to just before we went into this stay-at-home order, I probably just had one student, and in that case, the teacher was able to call me from my class, which was just outside in the hall, and we spoke with that student, and we've not had any issues there in terms of school. If there was an issue in terms of disciplinary, we are fortunate enough to have a secretary, so an additional member of staff on site where we can perhaps give that child a timeout in the office, so it doesn't interfere. Online, our students tend to be pretty good. They are in full uniform. They do have their cameras on largely, at least in the upper grades. The little ones can be a pickle at times, but as my colleague Judy alluded to earlier, they are not disciplinary issues. All right.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ellen. At this time, we're going to pivot a bit more towards the question talking about what accommodations are in place for online students who have special needs. And at this time, would like to hear from Rose, because I think she didn't get a turn last time.
Okay.
So Rose, go ahead.
Yes, we do have a few students who would be in the special needs category. What we've been able to do, because we've been online, is to have those students have one-on-one with me. So I'm basically the online special ed resource teacher at the school. So I've been able to go into the classrooms and go into a breakout room with a student and to help them with the work that they need help. And it also gives the teacher that ability to still be able to work with the other students so that I can work with them. It's still not the best situation, because it would be better if we were in person, see each other. The kids that are special needs, this is not the best environment for them, and I'll be honest about that. They're sitting in front of a computer all day, and you're doing your best to try and engage them. But what I've found is that just me being able to have that one-on-one with them has helped in some way, and we've been able to differentiate the instructions so that, yes, I'm not teaching them at the level that they would be in the regular classroom, but I've been able to water it down so that I can meet their needs. So that's what we've been having to do.
Excellent, Rose. Thank you so much. At this time, I do want to acknowledge our lovely audience who are sending in their comments and their questions. I've seen a couple just talking about what an excellent job you guys are doing. And we thank you so much on our audience members for continuing to, in the Jamaican vernacular, we would say big up each other, and we appreciate that. So who would like to go next? We're talking about what accommodations are in place for online students with special needs. Thank you, Judy. Go ahead.
I think at Crawford we have been extremely blessed. We have a student success department under the directorship of your very own Mrs. Audrey James, and she works with Miss Karen Boyce. And these two ladies do a phenomenal job. So when students are online, they will still have their classes with these specific students by groups as they would if they were in person. They've also put together binders with different activities catering to the special learning challenges that these students have. There are times I know as well in the upper divisions where Miss Boyce would actually be in the classroom while the teacher is teaching to assist any students that need that help. So I believe that the special needs students are being serviced, they're being serviced daily, and they're being helped. And I know that, like I think Rose said, it's not the ideal, because we know that these students will probably do better, would do better in person. But for now, what they're getting is above and beyond. So I believe that we are doing an excellent job catering to our special needs students.
Thank you so very much, because they're part of us. We're one and the same, and we have to ensure that no child is left behind. We're going to move on. Think about it. COVID is here, and COVID has taken away a lot of the fun activities from school. There are no field trips. There was no blast off. There is no birthday parties. I can't drop off pizza and cake for my daughter for her birthday. The kids can't have a gym running around and hitting each other. There is no assemblies in the morning. How are you as a principal compensating for this lack of social and interpersonal engagement that the pandemic has taken away?
And we'll just have
Ellen?
2 comments. Yes, Ellen, go ahead. And then we'll have Vernon.
All right. So just looking at the positive side of COVID, if one can say so, and being online allows us the flexibility to do something that we can't do whilst we're in school. School separates us. It puts us into cohorts. Whereas now, whilst being online, we're able to do fun things like bake together and cook together. So in the grade 7 and 8 class, what we've been able to do is to have 2 students lead out, well, 3 in actual fact. One led out in cooking Smartie cookies. We were baking Smartie cookies, and they took the lead there. And then the other one, we did this special K roast that I'd never tasted before, and 2 of our students led out there. So it's nice to be able to incorporate those things and help them to understand that it's not just about hitting the books, and whilst that's important, but it's also developing skills elsewhere, and particularly in the kitchen.
Thank you so much. We're going to just take one more principal or one more representative. Sharon, how have we accommodated for the lack of fun happening in the classrooms? One more response before we go to break.
Well, in terms of the high school, our situation is we have tried to simulate as much as possible the regular situation online. So there's regular, all the outside activities to take place in an online version on a Friday. We still have class activities. We still have week in spiritual emphasis on just completed. We still have our General Assembly on a Monday. And the Student Association has now implemented a program for the students on a Wednesday evening, where they can gather like a fireside chat to have special discussion on specific topics moderated by staff. So it is being adjusted as much as possible to keep each student in a loop and as comfortable and engaging as possible, and try to allow them to communicate as if they were in school.
One of them I'll ask about is class challenge. I know the high school students look forward to this, plan for this all year. Is there going to be online class challenge this year?
There was an online class challenge. It's partially completed. The online version was fantastic.
Excellent.
And there's still some parts of it to be completed, which will be done over the next couple of Fridays.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, teachers, we're going to grade you very quick. We're going to start going faster because the class time is wrapping up. You know how it is when we have our Zoom classes. So this time you're just going to give yourself a grade, no explanation why. The comments have already been written. So let's go. Ellen Banis, what grade do you give yourself? Excellent, good, satisfactory, needs improvement as it relates to the student population, the students and the pandemic?
I would say an E for Ellen.
Thank you very much. E for excellent. Mrs. Bergenhall, what grade do you give yourself?
An E for JK to 8.
E, JK to 8.
Beautiful. Vernon, what are you thinking?
I would give the high school an E in terms of our interactions and the ability to maintain as much of the programming as possible.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Next principal.
And Rose?
Definitely an E. When I see the smiles on the faces in the morning, I know we're doing a good job. So an E. Mm-hmm.
All right, students, you've been given E's and your principals have given themselves an E for taking care of you. If you have any comments, if online audience, please, especially your students, chime in and tell us about it as we go to break and come right back. Again, we're on WestLINK.
Some advice we can give you guys is, number one, we should all know this: ask God for guidance during these hard times. Anything you have, just take it to God. Actually, help Him keep you going throughout the day. Devotion in the morning will help. Prayer helps. Just talking to Him really helps you get through the day.
Yeah, our next one is like, if your school starts, if class starts at 8:30, get up at 8. Get up at 7:45. You know, make breakfast. Make sure you eat. Get all the groups of the food groups in. Get some nutrition from all of them, and you can leave small motivational quotes around your house, whether it's in your bathroom, in the mirror, so you can see it. Word of the day, try and use that word in everything that you do. Just give yourself some uplifting, encouraging things to see,
Another thing is exercise. Take a 1, 2, 15, 30 minutes exercise during the day. It helps your mental health. It will help you stay on whatever you want to do. It will help your brain to
be energized,
Just get ready for the day.
Yeah, get into the school atmosphere. Have a devotional. There's daily ones on the internet. There's one on the Bible app.
You can get those apps that have all of those.
Just take time to read it, and pray about it, pray on it to help you. Whatever the devotional thought is saying, help you to, embody it during the day or for the week, whatever you want to do,
Another thing that helps me, or whoever has this at their house, is a pet. I need to hear him. But a pet really helps me cope with this whole COVID thing and being alone in the house. Sometimes just having an animal with you will make it feel like, you're not alone. You can talk to them. You can... That was weird when I say talk to them, but they listen. Animals listen. But yeah, pets do help. If you don't have a pet, call your friends. Going on meets with your friends are not weird. It really helps you mentally just to hear their voice and whatever.
Yeah. Talk to teachers that you trust, or your pastors at your church that you trust. And if you're feeling down and you feel like you're sliding into a dark hole that you don't want to be in, and you don't really have someone you can trust, you can call, the hotlines, the suicide prevention hotlines. Someone who will listen to you. So just talk to them. They'll help you out with whatever you're going through. And if you guys ever want to talk to one of us, we'll put our socials up there
on the screen,
and
right here.
And if you want to talk to us, our DMs are open. We're here to listen to anything that you have to say, and just remember that you're not alone.
With all of that said, I guess we're done. So bye.
Thank you to our students from Crawford, reminding us that we are not alone in this pandemic. We can share. We're going to jump to the section where we're going to talk about COVID and how it impacting our teachers. So the question I have is, have any policies been put in place to protect our teachers' mental health? Parents, principals, chime in. We're going to just take 2 responses before we start wrapping up. Mental health is big. What supports have been put in place for our teachers to remain sane, healthy, and well?
Medication. Do you know where it is?
Come on, principals, chime in, jump in. Don't let me choose you.
Can I just say, from the conference point of view, and we have just had introduced into our health benefits LifeWorks, and that is most definitely an excellent app in terms of school. And what we try to do, and we've only managed to do it once so far, we've tried to have breakfast but be socially distant. And of course, when we're in school.
For me, at the school level, I encourage my teachers to take their PEL days, because many of them just want to keep going. Even though we are virtual, we can still have substitute teachers in to help those teachers just get a breather, maybe a day or so during the month. And I think that really helps.
Yes, yes, it does. I'm just going to read a comment by Darlene Squires. She says, as Mrs. Wilson's assistant, she's an excellent, caring, and motivated principal. I appreciate you, Miss Rose.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
All right.
Charmaine Jameson, a teacher at Crawford Adventist Academy, says CAA teachers are blessed to have Mrs. Bergenhall. We give her an E+. Excellent. Thank you for that.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent. Go ahead, Leanne. You're going to grade our teachers for us?
Moving on, we are grading our teachers. What would you give your teachers on their coverage and adaptability during COVID-19? Let's start with Rose.
Oh, they get an A++++. They have done an excellent job jumping into online teaching, having to learn all these different platforms, getting themselves familiar with it in a short period of time has been amazing. And to see how they have adapted to it and how they have encouraged the kids, how they remain engaging in their classrooms, it has been phenomenal. And I'm so proud of them, each and every one of them. So they're off the chart when it comes to grading right now.
All right, let's get the next 10-second response to this question because we're going to be wrapping up right now. Next, one more principal would like to answer that question. Give your grades, please. Let's go. Ms. Bergenhall, grade?
Yes, like Rose, there is no grade I can give my teachers. They are beyond, they're just phenomenal and amazing individuals whom I love very much. So they're off the chart as well. A's with 100 pluses behind it.
Excellent for them. Okay, next, Vernon, on behalf of Mr. Boyce, tell us. Vernon?
I'm speaking on behalf of the teachers at Crawford, and we have done a fantastic job. Each person is taking on additional roles without a complaint, and we have gone beyond the call of duty, and I think we've done excellent.
Excellent. E for excellent. All right, next principal.
Beautiful. Ellen, close us out, please.
And of course, most definitely an E. Our teachers, in some cases, have actually gone and hand-delivered material to students, have kept students behind after school and actually tutored them online. So most definitely, as my colleagues have said, an E.
An E. Okay, so all our teachers have gotten an E for going over and above, beyond what they've been asked to do, regardless of the salary or lack thereof. They continue to teach our students and give their all. Lots of teachers who were not top of the line on technology, they have learned and they're now doing it. Teachers, job well done. We love you. We're going to jump into the last section before we wrapping up. We're already over time, but guess what? Christian education is homeschool church. So we're going to even grade our home. Parents, this question is on your behalf. In these precarious and uncertain times, why should I, as a parent, keep my child in Christian education where I'm paying a couple $100 a month? Principals, answer, or parents, why should I keep my child in Christian Adventist education during this pandemic when they're at home?
I see Ellen eager to answer.
That's okay. I guess we'll all answer. Holistic education. It is, in a nutshell, it is really about educating for eternity. It is recognizing that it's not just about the academics, but it's about helping our students to deepen that relationship with their Heavenly Father, especially when all around us seem to be giving up hope. So that's what I would say.
All right. Any other principal wants to just share a 10-second? Why should we continue to pay school fees when our children are at home, we're feeding them and we're helping them, we're doing some of the discipline for you on your behalf. Why should we keep our children in Christian education?
I believe that one reason that we have to is because we, like Ellen said, we're giving them that hope. If they were someplace else, I don't think they would be able to hear about the love of Christ and the way they can lean on him to get them through any situation. And the ability to be able to pray with your teachers, pray with your classmates, that you can't find that everywhere. You can't find that everywhere. And that's why it's so important that even though you're paying the money for this, they're still connecting with Christ each and every day. And that is what we're all about, is preparing them for eternity.
Thank you so much. So we had lots more questions for the parents, but because of time, what we're going to do is have the principal grade the parents. Have we been supportive enough to the school, to you as a principal? Have we supporting our children? Grade the parents. Come on, give us a grade. Rose, give us a grade.
Excellence for the parents that are with us. They're supporting us. They're fantastic. They really are. They really are. So E for parents.
Other principals?
Yeah, I would agree an E as well. Our parents have a better understanding of our roles now as educators, and fully support us, and where they're able to, because we mentioned before, some of them have the challenges as well of actually trying to do a job at home as well. So most definitely an E.
An E. Okay, keep going. We have two more. Ferna?
I would say an E, because we have gotten more full support of our parents during this period. They're more understanding, as was mentioned earlier. Also, I find that there are more communication now between parents and teachers, and in terms of support of their students online, and they're more likely to respond at a shorter notice. And in terms of our virtual interviews that we now have, I find more parents are coming on than even when it was in-person interview. So the support is a lot better.
Excellent. And I would just point in here that even if the world ever opens back and we go to normal, we would love to still have parent interviews online. Thank you so very much.
I agree with you.
The other principal want to chime in. What grade do you give the parents?
Definitely an E. Our parents are just amazing. They have adapted to this new way, this new lifestyle. They're extremely supportive. And what I like is the communication. So we communicate together if something is not working or if something is working. They're also very encouraging and supportive. So definitely an E.
Okay, so there you have it. Did I hear from everybody this time?
Yes, you did.
What we tried to do today on WestLINK was to talk to our principals, to hear about Christian education. How are they coping in the pandemic? What additional responsibilities do they have? How are teachers coping? How are students coping? What can we do to ensure that education continues and our students are happy and that they will all graduate when it's time to graduate? Thank you so much for sharing with us on WestLINK. And before we wrap up, teachers, this is the principals, I'm sorry. This is the last time you'll get to speak. You have 10 seconds. Again, govern yourselves accordingly. I will cut you off at the end of 10 seconds. Like in a test, when I say stop writing, you will stop writing. So you have 10 seconds to share a message of hope with our audience, to remind them why Christian education is the way to go, because we love God and we want our children to love him even more. Principals, 10 seconds. Let's go. Message of hope.
I would say, please invest in Christian education, because we see this as a ministry, a calling, not just a job.
Amen. You get your A+ for sticking to 10 seconds. Next. Bergen Hall.
Sure. So on behalf of Prophet JK-8, in all things, we give thanks now to everyone, knowing that we serve a mighty God who keeps us under the shadow of his almighty wings. We continue to look to the hill, for our help comes from the Lord. We are more than conquerors, and with God, all things are possible.
Yes. I love it. Rose, let's hear from you.
Parents, take this time, this COVID time, to connect with your family. You don't have to travel to work sometimes. Take that extra time that you have in the evening to spend time worshiping with your kids, cooking together, eating dinner together, and in not in front of a device, anything like that. If you keep doing that, we are going to have true education starting at home, and then we'll just work together from the school also, because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. So we have to stick together.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to say to the parents, it's a partnership, and if we keep it together, we'll all make it through this all together, and your students and your child will be better off for it in the end.
Amen.
Thank you so very much. Remember, Christian education, higher than the highest human thought can reach, is God's ideal for his children. Principals, we'd like to thank you so very much. And in absentia, Wendy Hutchinson as well. Thank you so very much for your hard work and all that you're doing for Christian education. The Lord has promised he will reward you. And while you're here on earth, we give you our utmost thanks and our love. Leanne, will you close it out for us, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chanel. To our teachers, our students, and our parents, thank you for being committed to excellence and working tirelessly despite our circumstances. To our audience, thank you for joining us and participating in the chat with your comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you won't miss a minute of the riveting discussions every Saturday on WestLINK, where we connect. Let us pray to close out. Kind and loving Father, we thank you for this discussion. We thank you for the ability to come together amongst our circumstances and to excel and to succeed. Be with us now as we go forth. Continue to be with our parents, our principals, our teachers, and our students. In your name, I do pray. Amen.
Amen.